Hello and a very warm welcome to what is a Breaking Back Page video special here from Central Quay. I'm joined by Keith Jackson on the day where it was announced that Neil Lennon will leave his post as Celtic manager after nearly 4 years in charge. And Keith, the rumours have been growing over the past couple of days that something was afoot, but did you expect this today?
I heard yesterday, Gregor, it was starting to reach a bit of fever pitch, and I made some calls, and I kind of realised at that point that something was going on, but it was about getting the confirmation. And I made a call this morning, and I think that we put it online shortly after that. There will be a statement coming this afternoon, and it will be confirmed that Neil's left the position, which isn't an enormous surprise, but at the same time, it's always an event when a Celtic manager moves on, and I think there's been a groundswell around this thing for a while, which has indicated that it was likely that Neil Lennon might be moving on. The decision that was taken over Johan Mjällby, I don't think pleased everybody around the backroom team. I think this has been bubbling away. I think there are fractured relationships in the background at Celtic, and it was starting to become inevitable. I think as well, though, it's important to stress that as much as things become difficult behind the scenes, I think Neil will probably leave on fairly decent, reasonable terms. I think he's reached. It was described to me this morning that he's reached the end of his shelf life. You can only keep on at this job for so long. It's a high. It takes a high toll. The job, the stresses and strains involved. And I think the feeling is that Celtic have had enough of Neil, and Neil's had enough of Celtic, and it's time to move on.
You've been assured by a senior source at the football club that there is no disagreement.
Who would that be?
Well,
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm saying nothing. I would never give away your sources, Keith. Never. But you have been assured that this is not over transfer budgets, over expenditure at the club. But as you mentioned, there does seem to have been some
I think all these things take a toll as well. Celtic's wage bill would have been up at 30 million not so very long ago. You're probably looking at under 20 now, maybe heading towards 15 for next season. So as a manager, that does take a strain. Of course it does. You're trying to build a team, and yet you're being told year on year that you're going to lose your key players down the spine of that team. You're expected to build again. You've set a standard for yourself, and I think that's what Neil Lennon has to be careful with as well. He set a standard for himself when he took Celtic into the last 16. He had a historic victory over Barcelona. It becomes harder year on year to repeat that. And if there are people down south, and we know that Neil Lennon has spoken about wanting to move down south for some time, if there are clubs down south looking at and monitoring your performance isn't going to reach or maintain that plateau level of last 16 historic wins over Barcelona if year on year your best players are going and you have to try and build it again and start again. And so I think Neil Lennon probably quite wisely is mindful of that and thinks that rather than stay another year and perhaps not achieving that level of success again, that might make it harder for him to make the move to England. Now seems like a good time for him, and I think now probably seems like a good time for Celtic as well. I think it is time to freshen up the menu at Celtic.
There will be heads exploding the minute I mention this very point, because there's so many fans who rail against the very suggestion that this has had an influence in proceedings, but he has had a slightly easier time of it on the domestic front in recent seasons with no competition there from Rangers whatsoever. How much of a bearing would that have in his decision?
This is one of the biggest ironies, that the Rangers situation has impacted on Neil Lennon's position at Celtic. I don't think there's any doubt about it, because if Rangers were still in that league and Neil Lennon was winning title after title, trophy after trophy, the guy would be getting carried up on London Road on people's shoulders because of the success level that he'd be bringing. There would be absolutely no question at all about Neil Lennon feeling the time was right to move on, or Celtic feeling that the time was right for Neil Lennon to move on in that scenario. But the bottom line is, it's hard to sell this one just now, because people say before the season started, well, if you don't win, it's a sacking offence.
Was there a whiff of last season syndrome about this term? I've mentioned it to a few people in passing that some of the signings this year, they had an ear of Martin O'Neill's last season, Gordon Strachan's last season, when you're fitting square pegs into round holes, and let's see how this goes. The Bo Richters, the Baldies, was there a wee bit of finality about this? You know, almost.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think the Celtic signing policy will continue to be run independently, almost from the manager's office. They have a system in place. They want to scout for young players at cheap prices and hopefully sell them on. I don't see that changing. It's not as if Louis van Gaal's going to walk into Parkhead tomorrow and start saying, I'll be doing things my way. It won't happen. Celtic will maintain this policy, and whatever manager comes in will have to fit around the policy in the same manner that Neil Lennon did. That means that some signings will work and some signings won't, and that's just the way that it will continue.
We were slated for reporting that the bookies had slashed their odds and Henrik Larsson taking over. You followed that up last night and spoke to someone in charge at his football club in Sweden. But you know, who will the successor be? Because there's a few names bubbling around there now.
I'm not sure that Celtic are red hot on Henrik. My information is that. Listen, I wouldn't rule it out, because I'll tell you, for one reason and one reason only, if you put Henrik Larsson into that dugout tomorrow, you'll probably sell 25,000 season tickets on the back of it. Such is the affection between the Celtic support and Henrik Larsson. So that's from a if you were being cynical about it, then it's an easy fit. But I don't think that's the line Celtic are taking on it. I think they will now I think they've known what was coming for some time. There will be fillers have been put out. I don't think this will take too long for Celtic to find a man that they want to replace Neil Lennon.
And just finally, there's been highs, there's been lows, it's been nothing short of eventful, but how will he be remembered as Celtic manager?
A fiery guy, a competitor, a winner. Overall, I think in time, Neil Lennon will be regarded as someone who is good for Celtic, but Celtic will definitely be regarded as a club that was good for Neil Lennon. We now will see where Neil Lennon goes from here. You know, he has had an easy ride, some will say, at winning these titles up here. I think Neil Lennon has shown over this period that he has got credentials, and it'll be really fascinating to see where he goes. If he can find the right club, the right fit, and what he does now, the next stage of Neil Lennon's career will determine how he's remembered. Was he just a flash in the pan, an angry guy here for 3 years of chaos, or was this the start of something big? Well, history will tell us.
We'll be certainly following this story up over the course of the day. We're actually running a live blog on the site where we'll include all the breaking news, so if you're looking to find out exactly how things have happened over the course of the day, that is your place to go. But from myself and Keith, thanks very much for joining us for this Backpage special.